Hi, I'm Karen Schuessler, and today I'd like to share with you my warm-up sequence that I use with my adult choirs and my youth choir. It's important to remember that people are coming into choir rehearsal from all activities throughout the day, and their voices are in talking mode and their ears are in listening mode that is generally used for tuning things out rather than tuning things in. So this sequence will get both things kind of up and running to start on the repertoire. So the first thing I do is we talk about alignment, because just like an athlete, like a tennis player or a baseball player, in order to do the activity, you have to put your body into the right alignment. And so for singing, I use just a really quick Alexander technique direction, which is let your neck muscles release, let your spines be long and your torsos be wide, you loose hips, loose knees, let your joints be spacious, and then find where your ribs are. And then we go into a low breath, and out, and elongating your spine as you do your exhalation, lengthening your spine, and then we'll take another low breath with a yawn sigh. So it'll be like, ah, just to get the larynx down and to just get the air flowing through the body from a low place in the breathing. So once we've done that, then I go into just getting the sound forward, which is sort of, rather than back here, it's more up here, which is what carries the sound in the room and gives the better pitch and makes things just generally easier when you're going over breaks or transitions in the voice registers and that sort of thing. So then we go, and we're just playing. So we're just playing like, humming and chewing at the same time helps bring things forward. That's a good place to start. And I just start doing these things, and the choir starts doing these things, and pretty soon we have no inhibitions anymore because we're being so silly, but it's really lots of fun, and it gets your sound forward. So then we just do and meow, 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 using N's, M's, V's, Z's, NG's. Those things are all really good for bringing the sound forward. And then once we finish playing, then I just kind of take it into some pitch. Meow, 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 meow. And then meow, meow, meow. And here, meow, meow, meow. Meow is nice because it goes through a number of the vowels at the same time, but you get it started in a forward place. Plus you can talk about being open to keep the sound warm rather than just ming, 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 which is also good, but then I just kind of go into something that has more of an R and O in it so that they can start to be a little more spacious inside, which is a really important thing because you don't want a bunch of nails on the blackboard, which can happen if they're not open at the same time. So sometimes singers resist this because their sound to them that they hear in their own heads is partially 50% what they hear in the room and 50% from bone conduction and kind of skull vibration, and so it gives them the kind of an illusion that they are sounding lower and warmer than they do. And if you remember the first time you heard yourself on an answering machine when you gave the message and stuff, or a recorder of some sort, and you said, "That's not me," and it's because you probably felt like it's like way too high. And I know when I hear myself, I'm going, "Oh my gosh, you're just such a soprano." And I don't hear myself as a soprano, but I can hear it when I talk on a recording of some sort. So they have to understand that they can't hear themselves. Only people who are outside of them, the audience, their congregation, their conductor, that sort of thing, can hear them the way they really do sound. And so they need to trust you that they need to be forward in order to be heard clearly and to sing in better tuning. So we just play along with that, and let's see, I'm just going to keep going back here so I don't get off track too much. Oh yeah, and so we just play with scale passages like I just did on nasals, which is what you call the M's, N's, V's, that sort of thing, and then adding space for warmth. So when the sound is pretty forward, then we move into onset, which is where you get the vocal cords vibrating in connection with the exhalation. So you don't, you teach them how to do this. It can be tricky, but if you want to do more like as opposed to which is a hard onset, or which is a soft onset, and you can hear that neither of those two work really well for good tone. So then they are nice and tall, noble position, ta-da, that sort of idea. To keep this lifted is important so that this is free down here to move. So then we do breathe, 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 and they don't have to breathe in between, obviously, but this is the practice. The practice is getting the tone started with the breath like that. And so we do that, and then I do things one at a time, or we can do, sorry, that was wrong. And their cutoff is their new inhalation. We talk about that too, because that's called offset. That one doesn't come in quite so much, but onset's really important on words that start with vowels, because then you get your very best sound right away when you do onset. And I'm telling them to do that in pieces all the time. So we do that, going up and down chromatically or diatonically, adding also, yes, and also we can do chords with that, or intervals. So for instance, bass, tenor, alto, soprano. Stop. And so they have to hear that they are still being, still in tune for perfect fifths. And then one that I just dreamt up a few days ago that my choir got to do last Thursday, and they were just so thrilled, is this one. Bass, tenor, alto, soprano, and it goes like this. We'll do this a lot next season because I think it's going to be pretty good. So they got to do a chord and stay in tune. Next. But I don't play. So they got to do that a cappella. And I check it just to make sure that they don't go off too much. And they did a little bit. So I said, oh, we have room to grow with that one for next season. Aren't you excited? Okay, and you can do whole tones as well. So then after onset with that, then we go into range. And there's a vowel pattern, E, O, A, O, A, that Richard Miller, who was a fabulous vocal pedagogue, suggested for just a nice pattern of vowels to put exercises on. And so I take them up to B flat, at least. And there's various patterns for this. Obviously, just a arpeggio. I tell them to think the top note down, and then they can do little knee bends or things like that, just to get this, that they have to have a bigger trampoline. That's a good image. Just more support when you get toward the top, and that they're open, so that things don't feel too tight. And I just go for just stretching the vocal cords. Altos, everybody does it. They just need stretching. They're not going to have to sing up there, but it doesn't matter. They need the vocal folds need stretching. So I take the sopranos up to B flat, or I take everyone up to B flat actually. And then we just keep carrying on, and sometimes just to see how far can the sopranos sing. You know, this little squeal oh, way up there, and then just, which is awesome. I mean, so like, you know, if you're ever doing Queen of the Night, you know who to cast in that role. And a high soft palate. So we talk about when you take your inhalation, cold air, kind of hook up the palate, and that'll make all the high notes easier and make your tone more beautiful everywhere. So, and pitch better. And then we go low, because I have some basses who just they just love their low notes down there. So then we just do an ah with a V to kind of bring it forward. And just feel the chest. And just go as low as you want. And even it doesn't, I just let them go as low as they want to go. The guys, I'll take them down to at least D. And sometimes if the music needs it, which it doesn't too often, thank heavens, go to a C, but I'll do it just to see how low they can go, like I take the women up to see how high they can go, because then they think that's pretty cool. Then when we finish the range, we always do a yansai, to bring the voice back into some sort of mid-range after all of that. Then we go into flexibility, which is important. Flexibility is runs and its articulations. So staccato, marcato, legato. Staccato is short, marcato is emphasized. Every note is emphasized, and like little accents. And then legato, of course, is legato. So, and we do short patterns like this. That would be staccato. You could do where you're doing one of each time, and you do that and work it up and down, and they feel it when they're done in there, which is exactly what you want. You want them to focus on working this part down here, and then we do scales and triplets, descending. And then we'll do a run. Then they do the next one. And they keep going up for a few. And then so that takes care of flexibility, which is important to keep the muscles, as you know, just doing exercises. We need to stay flexible. And then we'll do some scales. Now, the thing with doing scales is that the idea is to create independence for tuning, and this is where the ear starts to get developed more. And the independence for tuning means that we have to think of our notes in terms of a relationship, because intervals are a relationship from one note to the next note, the other note, I should say, and chords, of course, are a huge relationship with all the notes. And without that, we really don't have much, because relationship is the beginning and the end of pretty much everything. So what we do with that is we do a scale on solfege. We don't do this one every time, but once in a while. And you do an anchor. So you have an anchor, which is do. And so if I'm going to do, I'll do D. And this is the anchor. And you just keep that going. And they're supposed to be listening to their note in relation to the anchor in order to hear the interval as they go up. And that gets their ear going and the tuning more effective in their own understanding, and then listening around them. So, and I'll just do hand signs. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, etc. And then we come down. Okay, but you can hear, as I'm going up the scale, I'm really listening to that anchor to make sure, yeah, that interval is right, because there's, you know, there's lots of choices before you get to a semitone. So we do that, and then we do, I always do an ear exercise, which, one of my favorites is chromatic scales. So chromatic, and this took a while to teach the choir how to do. We started out with doing like 5 notes in a row, and we did that like for half a year, because it's hard, but they're now pretty good at it, and so I'll do it here. And we do it on do, or I'll change the vowel because that'll make it harder, but we do it on do. That's in triplets, you can see. So we'll do duplets. And then we come down. And we do that. And then we come down. And it's the quadruplets are tricky, and some days they get them really well, and some days they don't. The triplets we get pretty much all the time, and duplets, of course. Then follow that right away with whole tone scales, and this also is quite tricky and took us a while, but they're pretty good at now, which is. And next year I'll start to do rhythms with that, because that's 6. So you can do 2 groups of 3 or 3 groups of 2. And the first one, of course, is that's pretty easy, but then that's not so easy, etc. with that one. So we do whole tone. Then we do a little one. If I don't do those, I'll do this one, which is up a tone, down a semitone, up a tone, down a semi. And that goes like this. And I play after them because I want them to find it first, and then we check. Okay, so the whole idea is that they're, you know, ideally supposed to be able to do these a cappella without too much trouble. So we do that. And then another one is the interval exercise, which they, of course, don't like at all. But we try to get it up to a 5th. We don't do all of these. I'll pick one because, I mean, it'd take a while. And so I'm starting on F. Minor second, major second, major second, minor third, major third, etc. as we go up at least to a 5th. Next year, they don't know this. I'm going to spring it on them in September that we're going to do the whole octave, and that will do them in, because anything beyond a 5th gets pretty tricky to go down. Okay, so the going up is not too much of a problem, but going down, but it's time. So we'll do that, and then they also hear, we do just diatonic scale with the anchor to hear the relationship, which I've already shown you. And then we're ready to start rehearsal. Okay, so this all takes far less time to do than it does for me to talk through it, of course. If the music is dependent on some other features in it, like dynamics, like it's a big, dynamically, you know, expressive piece, then we'll do some exercises for dynamics with crescendos and decrescendos, and the two things that James Jordan, for some reason, from Westminster Choir College, he, for crescendo, like if I go here, and you pull your bathing cap back. I don't know why it works, but it does. And they get it every time. Then they have to practice doing it, thinking about a bathing cap. The other one for decrescendo, learned this one from Bob Chilcott a number of years ago when he came here for an RCCO workshop. And he said that to do a decrescendo, you keep sending the sound out away from you. And what that does is that engages the support system more automatically, which is what's crucial for a decrescendo. And so you can do like, like that. And sometimes I'm better, sometimes I'm not, and if I'm standing up, perhaps. But the whole idea is that then it's not this, which I just sagged because they think it's softer, and so everything just starts to collapse, you see. And so that's a pretty important thing to keep reminding them. Diction is another one. If there's lots of words where the words are important, and it's in English, of course. So my quick and dirty, which I don't know why, but it seems to work, is and that would pretty much be the warm-up for diction. Just to get, oh yeah, it's this part of the body and it's supposed to move like this. Other ones you can do, of course, are and I changed the last one. I don't do sh because, I mean, who needs to know how to pronounce that one? I just do a th. So it's like that. And then we add what's necessary. I mean, the consonant is one thing, but putting it with a vowel is something much more important. So then we'll do like and with an E, and things like that, just kind of play around to put it more into a context of actually singing words. Or even K's are horrific to get out for some reason. So, pak, tak, sorry, pak, tak was the next one. See, I even lost my cack. There we go. Pak, tak, cack, back, thack. Anyway, and I should be able to hear all those, okay, out here where I'm conducting from. So anyway, playing around with variations of that is good. The other one is if you've got a very expressive piece emotionally, one that they actually like, and I don't do probably often enough, is to just sing. Now sound happy. Sound sad. Sound joyful. It's just ways of putting into the voice the various emotions that have to be in your imagination first. And I have a whole list, and I'll just go down a chunk of them. And then they have to also try to stay in tune at the same time they're being expressive, which sometimes is even more challenging. So that's pretty much takes care of warm-ups. If the choir is, anyone in the choir is interested in doing more at home, there's a university professor, his name is Roger Hale, on YouTube, and he speaks the same vocal language that I do, so and he's pretty solid, so if they watch his videos on different types of warm-ups and long ones, short ones, whatever, they'll understand it and be able to get something out of his videos. So I make that recommendation for them, or suggestion. And that's pretty much what we do for warm-ups, and it's lots of fun, and it gets us in pretty good shape. And of course, I might do something in the middle of rehearsal. I have tried several times to not do warm-ups because we need all the time we can get for doing the pieces. We have so much music to get through that I go, oh, we'll just figure it out. And it never works, ever, ever. I always end up going, oh, forget it, we just got to warm it up. And so I always end up doing them anyway, so I've just given that up, of not doing them, because we end up doing them anyway. So anyway, I hope there's a couple in there that strike your fancy and that you could possibly use with your choirs. And good luck with that, because it can be lots of fun. Thanks. Bye.